We're saying that the series pretty much starts here with this. They could have started the series here with them because you get the whole dynamic of how vulnerable she is and how her best friend is now her mortal enemy. If they wanted to establish the fact that they were good friends before and it was the circumstances that pitted them against each other, some of it was necessary and some of it wasn't necessary. You could have done away with a lot of what happened in the first 5 episodes with flashbacks or with just um, like maybe one episode because we spent 5 episodes of really nothing happening and it dragging except establishing the characters, which is all fair and good. But the Chris Puff story, character arc was important to see because it's important to see his motivation. But here, they did a marvelous job of doing, of throwing us into this situation and this 10 years later and seeing that these characters have really changed a lot in a short amount, well, in 10 years. They're all paranoid of each other. And it was all buried into them or into Allison by her father, right? And then I think the nail on the coffin, which wasn't important. I want to say they could have done episode 5 could have been the first episode. Because a lot did happen in episode 5 that was important. And the most important thing for these two girls is the fact that Allison 100% believed Rhaenyra. And Rhaenyra lied to her. And that was the biggest nail in the coffin because she's like, if I can't believe her, if I can't trust what she has to say, then I can't trust anything about her. She's kind of was an all or nothing situation. I was surprised that Viserys was still alive, even though he's decrepit. I do like this guy. I do like Viserys. He's just not. He tries so hard to make everybody happy. Viserys is one of those kings that would have probably benefited of not remarrying at all. Rhaenyra has matured and Alicent hasn't. But honestly, all the drama of the first episodes was that Viserys didn't have an heir. And they got resolved in those episodes because remember, he married Rhaenyra to Laenor. So really, he never needed to remarry and have any more sons. That kind of just complicated the whole thing. You know? And if he was going to do that, I hate to say it, but if he was going to do that, which he did, obviously, but I mean, if he was going to consider getting remarried, he should have just married Laena. As ridiculous as that sounds, he should have just married her just to make it keep it in the family because obviously it's the introduction of Alicent into the family that makes all of this drama happen. Laenor got thrown into this. Laenor and Rhaenyra did not want to be this. Laenor and Rhaenyra got forced into this situation and they did the best that they could of coming up with an arrangement, and obviously he's not at all interested in even pretending. He should have done maybe a better job. Captain Strong here. Loved him. Loved the actor. I kind of felt sad that it was so short-lived. The problem is that he's not even trying to keep faith to his part. I don't know. At the same time, it's kind of difficult for someone who's gay or lesbian, to be able to enjoy themselves and put on the act. I don't know. I agree. He could have done a better job. I don't like Aemond. Can we say that? At first I thought maybe he was misunderstood, but I already didn't like him when he was already being such a little prissy crybaby about the fact that they were playing a practical joke. Come on, dude. It's a joke. They're kids, And Aegon is the one that's always egging on the jokes. So in the end, I felt Aegon is just a moron, but Aemond is a little evil devil. Yeah, he takes things way too serious. He comes across though as a very classic princely personality. There were a lot of royals with the attitude of Aemond. And the fact that he's always curious about the dragon. I mean, that was the only thing I did like. I like how he faced his fear of dragons because he kept getting teased and he overcame it. That was good. That was a good arc for him. But outside of that, he really becomes a little crap. I don't know what to make of this girl. I don't know if you know a lot about her. I find it interesting that she seems to be, like you said, like an oracle. She seems to see things. So of course he cries to mommy, and she is constantly trying to talk about Rhaenyra being... It's like, I find it annoying that everybody assumes Viserys just refuses to see this about his daughter. He knows it. It just can't be said, right? She's a green seer. Okay, is that a terminology from the series? Viserys knows what's going on, right? He just knows that they have to maintain decorum. It just has to be the case. So, Kristen has his... And the fact that Kristen is now, or Chris Puff, is now acting out of spite for Rhaenyra rejecting his love, you know, makes it even more petty. Oh, connection with a type? Is it only one type of animal that she has a deep connection with, or several? This scene was so disturbing. Traumatizing her own son with her own trauma. He's like, you're crazy, Mom. And this is why we watch the show. I love this. The introduction of Vhagar. I don't think we see Vhagar before this, right? I don't think we do. And I like how Daemon seems to have been seasoned with the years. He's kind of just given up. Everything seems like a joke to him. He sees through everything. Oh, so with her, it's insects, excuse me. Insects. Yeah, because she's always holding some kind of an insect. She wants to go home, right? He doesn't want to go home because it's just a reminder of his failures, right? At this point. But it's clear that in marrying Laena, he made a decision that he's not going to participate in the battle for the Iron Throne, right? This was the best scene of this episode. The whole pitting the kids against each other. Because now we understand that this is just going to escalate, right? These kids have been born into and it's kind of sad. They've been born into a situation that it's out of their control, and they're being used as pawns by their parents for political gain. Yeah, Chris Puff is awful, you know? Chris Puff is awful. We do get a sense of how he's just really bitter and will stop at nothing to try to get back at Rhaenyra in some way. Meanwhile, what's the name of this guy? Lord Strong? He's not a lord yet, right? He seems very noble. He seems to just care about his kids. He's trying to be a good dad. He sees that his sons have in them what he has, you know, the capacity to be good warriors. So we can imagine that in the future, these kids are going to be, they're going to be able warriors that are going to be pitted against each other. And you know better than I if that's actually what happens. But that's definitely what they're trying to set up here. You know? And of course, Chris Puff has to dig into him. Has to say the one thing that's going to drive him crazy, and then this sets off the next stage of things where his father has to leave and retire as the Hand.
Or son.
I honestly thought he was gonna kill him. Like it's like at least he got. I mean, I think this was his reward for what he did to Joffrey, right? Only that he could take the beating better, I guess. And I never really cared for the Hand, this new Hand, Strong, but we have to give him credit for the fact that at least he was trying to be mindful of what's the right thing to do in the situation. And it's important for Rhaenyra because she realizes she's on her own. I realized it in here, in this moment in the episode, that she realized she's on her own, right? And this is why we have this scene next after that, because he was what a Hand was supposed to be. And you know what? I have to agree with that. Otto wasn't. He had everybody fooled that he cared about the realm, but honestly, he was obviously always trying to put his family in a better position. But this is why she calls Laenor in, right? And talks to him and then forbids him to go away, because at this point, we don't even have Daemon in the picture. Back in the picture. And she realizes, and this is something that is subtle, right? And at least we can give them credit for not cheesing this out. The fact that even a strong woman in this position needs a man to help her, defend her, protect her, partner with her, right? As a princess, it's not enough her standing. Although the fact that she's the daughter of the king and that he loves her, right, goes a long way. She needs a man, sadly. Yeah, but it's a reality of life. I mean, I don't know why we have to pretend as if it's necessarily a bad thing. Men need women in a certain way. Women need men in a certain way. There's an interconnection in there, a duality that can complement each other. You know what I mean? In more ways than one, not just as husband and wife. And you can't escape it, right? So at least they didn't cheese that out like they do in Rings of Power, where Galadriel Horse doesn't need anybody. She can do it all by herself. I didn't pay too much attention to this whole thing with the daughter. I mean, I understand that it comes into play because it's important that they have dragons. Why do you think Daemon doesn't interact with his daughters? What do you think the problem is there? Like, it's such a difference between that and Strong with his sons. Is it because they're girls? Is that what it is? Is it because he has two daughters and he doesn't see them? Is he very macho in that respect, where he doesn't see that they can carry any weight or any importance? Because he tries to partner with Laena, but obviously he doesn't listen to her. And we have to give her credit for respecting her husband in that sense. It seems like he ignores both daughters for the most part. It seems like he's uninterested in them because they're not boys. She gets private lessons from him, specifically. See, they should have shown us that. I feel like we didn't get to see enough of Daemon's relationship to his own daughters. They kind of glossed over the fact that he just seems dejected, doesn't want to go to Westeros, but clearly wants to go back to Westeros, you know, and that he's established a relationship with Laena that's better than the one he had with the one from the Vale that he ended up killing, but that it's still very one-sided. Okay, and there must be a reason then. This was a great scene. I felt Rhaenyra really stepped up to try to show that even though they have differences in how they view how the realm should be ruled, which, again, I don't know how Alicent is sitting at the table. I don't remember her sitting at the table in the past. Yeah, Yeah, I agree. I agree because there really is an amazing transition, and they really have such a connection, those two, you know. But Rhaenyra really does a good job here of trying to make amends, right? I don't know what else you can do than what she did to show Allison, like, I'm not here to supplant you. I'm not here to have your kids killed. Blah de blah. But to Allison's credit, the problem that Allison has now is that she is, yeah, but Allison is paranoid. Remember, Allison put a lot of faith in Rhaenyra in the first half of the season, the first 5 episodes. It wasn't until Rhaenyra lied to her about the whole thing that happened with Chris Puff and Damon that Allison completely lost faith in her and was unable after that to take. After that, she can't take her seriously. I mean, I can understand that. Like, when somebody lies to you that you've put your complete faith into, especially after you went to them honestly like she did, there really is nothing you can do to regain that trust. You know what I mean? It's really hard. You have to really give the other person an opportunity. And I mean, again, Rhaenyra did try, though. She is trying, and I don't think that Allison ever tried to go back to her after she found out what happened and have a heart-to-heart talk about it. After that, she's just like, see, look at her. She's just a liar. She's a slut. She can't even be faithful to her own husband. Blah blah. And she just feeds off that negativity over and over. Continuously tried to turn Viserys against his daughter, which, can we say that Viserys is a great dad in that respect? He really just tries to make everybody get along, and it's just impossible. I'm gonna miss him. I hope he sticks around, but I think it's coming, right? So the Hand does what we know he needs to do. And can we say something also? Like, remember, this kind of goes back to when Otto found out. Yeah. Yes, he's resolute only when it comes to his daughter, but honestly, still, I admire that about him. You know? The fact that he's resolute about something, he may be confused about a lot of things, but the fact that he's resolute about what's important to him, to me, is a win. Is something about him that I admire. I didn't think I would like him that much. Remember that Otto was in the same position where when he told Viserys about Rhaenyra going to, having the affair with Daemon and going to the whorehouse or whatever. And Otto had no problem telling him. And here, Viserys is kind of putting Strong in the same position, but he won't tell him. So what do you say that is? Is it that Strong has more respect for the king and the position of the king than Otto does? Or is it just fear? You know? I don't feel that it's fear, even though obviously there's an element of fear in it. There's an element of, yeah, I think he is genuine, and I think that he just really has respect for Viserys and his position, that, not to mention the fact that obviously his son is involved in it, but I think that's an important thing to note that's different between Otto and Strong. And I don't like the fact that in this show, anybody that has a good quality gets killed off as a sucker, Now, do we really believe that she didn't know that Larys was going to do what he was going to do? Do you think that she thought, well, they're his own family, so he's not going to murder his own family, right? Or did she know that he was capable of doing that and kind of gave the suggestion without coming out and saying it? Like, I'm not sure that I believe that she's so shocked at what he does. but that she's just glad that he did it for her. She didn't care. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The dynamic between these two is interesting. Now, here's the other thing about this guy. Like, clearly he has an attraction to her, right? Like, he's helping her, yes, because she's the queen, but also he seems to have an infatuation with her that she has to be very clearly aware of. As a female, she's got to be aware of it, but she's playing it off and letting him ogle about and have access to her. Like, if you think about it, okay, if you think about it, sure, she's not having sex with Laris, but what she's doing with Laris, she can't really criticize Rhaenyra, right? Because she's going behind her husband's back in the wee hours of the evening and having dinner with a strange man. Like, I'm sure that if Viserys knew about it, he wouldn't be happy about it, right? So, can we say she's really a hypocrite in the end? She may not have gone all the way, but it feels like sooner or later, Laris is slowly getting his fingers around her to the point that at one point he's gonna do his checkmate move, and she's gonna be screwed, where she's gonna have to do what he says, or else. I see that coming. Was Daemon concerned enough about Lena? Again, it feels like, I mean, I think he plays it well. I'm not criticizing it, but it seems like he's interested in her as an object, as a wife, as a position. The position being his wife, mother of his heirs, but not so much in her as a person, right? He's sensitive about it to an extent. He cares about her, but he's never going to care about her the way he does about Rhaenyra, right? Oh, I love Vhagar. They managed to give a dragon some sense of emotion, some sense of characterization, right? Death by fire is the way to go, don't we agree? I think this was the best way to go. If she had to go, that was the best way to go. So with him gone, with Strong gone, right? She realizes she's vulnerable and that she needs to get the heck out of Dodge. So once again, Rhaenyra is no fool. She's playing her cards as best as she can throughout all this, knowing that she's not a warrior. And I think this is better than Galadriel Horse, right? A woman that is playing the game of chess in court, in a world that's dominated by men. She's playing the game of chess, and she's strong, but she's not pretending that she can fight off men. You know what I mean? We're not gonna have like a big duel scene between her and Alicent, even. Not that there would be anything wrong about it. And she even accepts the boyfriend, right? We go to Harrow Hall. And as we knew, you were the one that told me Harrow Hall is cursed. It seems to be just like a trap to get these two guys eliminated. We saw it coming. It's truly a shame, but it's also important for the next, we realize, for what's coming up next. They kind of needed to eliminate those two characters in order for Daemon to step back in the void, because otherwise she always would be able to run to him, I guess. Plus it adds drama, and here's the moment where he tells her, right? He's so nonchalant about it. The fact that it was his own father and brother, right, is just... I mean, in Game of Thrones, we had the dwarf, right, that everybody hated because he was, you know, I don't know, he was a freak. And here we have another freak that's lame but ends up being, yeah, a psychopath. But again, I just don't believe that she's that. She may be a little shocked, but I just don't believe that she didn't see that he would do that, because I did. Is that literally how we finished it? I guess so. He is a psychopath, and I think he wants to be king. I think his aspirations are to have the Iron Throne. And she's the moron playing into his hands, but we'll see. We'll see how that continues in the next one coming up. Because it's so obvious. I mean, he's playing the cards. So if this is a chess game, he's the master chess player. But I think if I was to play this just based on what I'm seeing on the TV show, he definitely wants to have the Iron Throne. He may know that he can't sit on he can't sit on the throne because he's lame. But he's gonna get as close to it as he can. Even if it means that he would be the hand of the king and he would be basically ruling the king. But he wants to be ruling. He has aspirations. He is a psychopath. And it's always psychopaths that want to have power over other people, because you saw how he had no problem grabbing those guys from the jail cell and cutting their tongues off, and he seemed to just enjoy the pain that he inflicted. It reminds me of that character from Game of Thrones, the one that I forget right now the names, honestly. The one that got married to the redhead and was torturing. He ended up torturing that guy. From that, what were they? The Iron Isles? I don't remember anymore. He reminds me of that guy, Bolton. Yes, he reminds me of Bolton. Bolton was the best. Arguably the best. Ramsay Bolton, yes, was arguably the best evil character that they had on Game of Thrones, right? I think hands down. Beat Cersei, anybody you can think of. He was really just pure cruelty. With this episode, we finally have a show, but it's funny because it is first world problems, in the sense that it's about two rich girls bickering at each other, and it doesn't get serious until the kids get involved. And we'll save that for the next one.